The Stop the Steal campaign from Trump loyalists really hit another notch over the weekend, just days before Joe Biden's affirmation here. Trump advisor Peter Navarro believes Vice President Pence has authority to make some big moves when it comes to Biden's inauguration scheduled for January 20th.
I would not be surprised to see a special counsel on this. And Vice President Pence, he has the authority to give that 10-day window to do what needs to get done. And I cannot imagine when he looks at the facts, he won't vote the right way on that.
And you know, Peter, the interesting thing is that 10-day window it is something that they can change the date. The first January 20th cannot be changed. That's constitutional. But this whole certification thing, the dates can be changed.
Well, it can be changed,
anyway,
actually.
Peter
we can
Navarro.
go past that date. We can go past that date.
Oh.
We can go past that date if we need to.
All right. Yeah. President and founder of Solidarity Strategies, author of T.O. Bernie, former senior advisor to the Bernie Sanders campaign, Chuck Rocha, and White House reporter for Real Clear Politics, Philip Wegman. They are back with us to discuss. A couple interesting things there, Phil. None of that is true. There is Pence actually can't do any of that. And also, you can't push the inauguration back. If the January 6th certification goes as we all expect it to go, Joe Biden will become president of the United States January 20th, I think, at 12:01 p.m., regardless of whether there's an inauguration held or not. So what I'm actually interested in here, you actually know Vice President Pence quite well. You've covered him now for a couple of years. How do you think he is handling all of this? How is he going to handle himself on January 6th and in general handling this immense pressure from the president, who apparently believes this Navarro thing is true?
Well, first of all, Mike Pence is Mr. Constitution for a long time. Remember, he was the chairman of the Republican Study Committee. And he knows very well that the Constitution actually says January 20th. Like, this is set in stone. That's when the terms of president. And I think that the question for Mike Pence right now is, what is he going to do in terms of the objection being raised by those 11 senators? Because this is very quickly becoming the tribal litmus test of 2024 and beyond. You have some who say, absolutely, we need to challenge the Electoral College certification, and those who say, no, we don't want to. Remember, Mike Pence's appeal to a lot of the MAGA conservatives is his loyalty to the president. And in this regard, he has been, their darling. He's been a loyal lieutenant. He has never questioned the president publicly. If he breaks with him at this point, I think that a lot of those base conservatives who liked him by association are going to think, not anymore. They would see this as a betrayal. But this is something that's weighing on Pence right now. Yes, we saw give sort of his tacit approval, but that was through spokesman Mark Short, and it was in a tweet. I think that we're going to see much more, as this approaches. And look, Pence is not going to just settle for something innocuous like a 10-day audit. He's going to want to know what the details are. BC's going to have to be able to sell this to both sides of the party if something were to happen. But look, I think that Pence, yes, he seems predictable and on message all the time, but he knows the implications here. He knows that this audit likely isn't going to change anything, and I think he's going to want more details before he jumps feet first.
What details do you need? I mean, they litigated everything in court. They've lost everywhere they possibly could. The president sounds like a deranged person on the audio that was leaked where he's talking about Georgia's Secretary of State, Raffensperger. But Chuck, I mean, the famous quote about the vice presidency is it's not worth a warm bucket of piss, right? Now, apparently, the vice president is all powerful. He can do anything he wants. He can just pick whoever he wants to be the next president. I think Phil's point is the important one, though, of what does this ultimately do for him and his future presidential ambitions? Because it's very hard for him to square this circle ultimately.
Well, you have hit on it. Philip mentioned it. It's all about 2024. That's what this whole thing is about loyalty and about the two things in politics that only politicians care about, which is power or money. and power equates votes. And that's what they're all looking at. How we divide up this Donald Trump base around the money that they could raise or the votes that they could get in a primary. That's the whole enchilada here, whether it's a bucket of piss or not. That's what it's about, is about the 2024 elections. And to Philip's point, it puts the vice president in a really peculiar position because he has been as loyal and as ignorant as the day is long when it comes to this president. Now, what do you do now when you have all of the spotlight on you, when you can make your final, like, all the things that have come together to this final moment where you could be the leading contender in 2024? And that's going to be the big thing that I'm going to be watching, because to Philip's point, I think that's what this is actually going to come down to, is how does he do both of these things, be really loyal, but then move on because he don't want to be judged by history.
Chuck, I'm curious what your read on this as the political guy. I've had the contention here, I've been saying it all morning, is I'm like, look, you try and play footsie with this stuff, going half in, there's always somebody who's going to go all in. And in a primary system, the person who goes all in is going to beat somebody who's trying, as Phil is trying to say, like, reconcile both parts of the party, or like trying to play some sort of like, well, like, you know, the president has a point here, but he shouldn't have done X. Like, I feel like if you're not willing to just go all in on this, that the political benefit that you're going to get is just really not there. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
What you've exposed here is exactly what we've talked about a year ago, which is these primary electorates look so much different than the general electorate, a la why Bernie did so well. He had a solid 25% of the support in every one of these states, no matter how many other people were running. So the more people that were running, the better that Bernie did. And to me and Crystal have talked about this a lot, when that all consolidated down to when there was just two people, guess what? That 25 support for us was not enough. So that's what every one of these people are thinking in mind about what you're saying about being all in. If you're all in, does that galvanize your 20 to 25% support of the far right of this party, the Donald Trump truth tellers out there that they would think that they are? That's what they're looking at, because you don't need to win 50% of a primary in a multi-candidate field. You just need that 20% of the bedrock of the crazies that love Donald Trump.
There you go.
Phil, last question for you. Just preview the week a little bit. The Electoral College certification is supposed to happen this week. How is that going to play out? What are the things that you're going to be watching for?
You know, political fundraisers are going to have a great week. And what this boils down to is, like, maybe nothing changes, right? We get some theatrics on the floor of the House and the Senate. But if you want to make some money and you want to build that war chest for 2024, it is a great week to do so. You can fundraise off of every tweet, off of every speech, off of every cable news appearance. I don't think a lot of things are going to change, because it's interesting that the conservatives now suddenly believe that the Constitution is very flexible and can be a living, breathing document when they want it to be. Look, I think that the single most interesting question here is, what is Pence going to do? He has been a fence sitter for a long time and does not deal with very tough decisions like this. If you don't believe that, go look at what he did in Indiana with regards to the religious freedom restoration fight. You know, he tries to please all sides. It hardly ever works. I think that going out the door, this is something that is going to define his legacy. Trump could care less. For Pence, this is everything.
Yeah, and it's amazing, honestly, that he's gotten away with it this far, being able to sort of straddle the fence.
He's pretty good at it.
And being a loyal lieutenant, he's got a special skill at that, but I think all of those tricks have basically run out. Gentlemen, great to have both.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, next on Rising, Chuck Rocha is actually going to stick around. He's going to talk about those Georgia Senate runoffs. We're going to get some of his political wisdom when Rising continues.